Well, on today's show, this is one of the issues that I enjoy talking about. It's not like it's always, it used to be the big issue of guns and gun control here in Florida and proposals by the left. And I don't even know where the pro gun control crowd is anymore. Lindsay Randall, we're going to get with our guest in a second. I mean, we did a story on FloridaDaily.com. It might have been last year. Might have been maybe early last year. I don't know. Could have been 2024. I don't recall. But Lindsay Randall, the gun control issue was big after Marjorie Stoneman Douglas in 2018. And then it kind of, the Democrats in Florida and the pro-gun lobby thought they could, the pro-gun control lobby. There was a lobby out there, but I side with the pro-gun lobby. But the pro-gun control lobby goes, hey, let's run with this. Because they raised a gun control measure from 18 to 21 to buy a long rifle here, Lindsay, back in 2018 under then Governor Rick Scott. And then they wanted to have this gun control where let's lump AR-15s with a semi-automatic shotgun that shoots like 3 or 4, which I own several. Just stupid. And we did a story I might have been last year, where is the gun control crowd? I mean, they're out there doing parades with the LGBT crowd. We documented that, Lindsay. So Lindsay, I know it's an issue which you, besides hosting this show, you run a lot of charter schools, but it's a good issue to talk about, but we don't talk about it. I don't think we talk about it enough because there just isn't enough in the news about it.
Well, there's nothing in the news because nothing's happened right now.
Right.
So I think it's just a knee-jerk reaction, right? The left was all about, cutting off healthy body parts from children for a while. So that was like front and center. I feel like that's where they all got on the bandwagon. And now because there's not really anything in the news, thank God there's not. There haven't been any real big tragedies recently. It just hasn't been. So I think it's just a knee-jerk reaction thing. People get wound up about it when something happens, but other than that, it's kind of quiet. And other things have taken center stage.
And let me bring in Luis Valdes, who comes on my radio show constantly. And Luis Valdes, good to see you. Hey, by the way, where were you a cop at, Luis?
Started down in South Florida and then worked for the state.
South Florida, which was better, working in South Florida, working for the state, I'm sure. So anyway, but
I don't know.
Luis Valdes comes on our show a lot. He is the state director for the Gun Owners of America here in Florida. And Luis, let me talk about Publix grocery stores, Walmart, and where the pro-gun lobby is very pumped up about getting things passed. I side with you guys on a lot of issues. And yet every time everybody gets pumped up before the legislature, and I remind everybody, it's not run by Democrats, it's run by Republicans here in Florida. And I know you're going to address this in a moment, where it's like they can't seem to get any more pro-gun legislation, even incrementalism, passed here in the state. But let me play a couple of clips here, and let me give the audience kind of a little bit of a backdrop. I'll get to the clip. So when last September, a state appellate court here in Florida said that this ban that you guys were working against, by the way, Luis, you did through GOA, Gun Owners of America, doing lawsuits. A state appellate court said, hey, this open carry ban is unconstitutional. So it pretty much said open carry for the most part, unless a business doesn't want you to. Let me play for you the clip, because the question was, okay, this happened last September. Now new things have happened over the last couple of weeks. We'll get into that. So last September, they made it where it's legal now for open carry. And the question was, well, what will happen with some of the retailers out there? Walmart, Publix. Here was a clip, Fox News 35. This was in October of last year, where Publix said, we got no problem with it. We'll honor what the law says. Here's the clip.
Publix announcing that it will allow open carry inside its stores here in Florida.
It comes after a court ruling struck down the state's longstanding ban on open carry.
Well, Florida's open carry law took effect, and a spokesperson with Publix says they follow all state, federal, and local laws. Several major retailers are prohibiting open carry. Walmart, one of them, posting on its website, asking its customers to refrain from openly carrying guns unless they're authorized law enforcement. Now, we do know that this is the same policy that Sam's Club has as well.
Okay. And then for some reason why, about a week ago, let me play for you the clip. This is from wonder if I got this. Do I got the clip pulled up? Yeah, here we go. This is from Tampa Bay, WTSP. Publix starts sending out these signals and things online that they're not going to, what's the word, honor open carry anymore. Here's the clip.
Well, this marks a major shift from when Publix said that it would follow Florida's newly recognized open carry law after a state appeals court ruled the previous ban was unconstitutional. The apparent reversal comes after concerns from some customers, confusion over the law. Publix has not officially confirmed a policy change yet, but signs outside some of its stores, as well as responses from the company's customer service chatbot, now say they prefer only law enforcement openly carry firearms inside stores.
So, Lewis, give us a little bit of, from what you understand, a little bit of backdrop here. Was there something that happened? Was this predominantly done more to the liberal part of the state in South Florida, not so much maybe in North Florida? Why did Publix, they say they have it, but underneath the hood, they're saying some of this stuff online, they're putting out signs, only law enforcement. They kind of changed course a little bit. What do we know about that?
Well, the exact verbiage says they're refraining people from openly carrying. They're not saying they don't want you to open carry. They're just saying, hey, we ask that you don't. And you know what? They have that right. They're a private business. They're a private institution. It's private property. They can do that. But what's interesting is Publix is still basically saying, look, all we're asking is that you refrain from open carry. They're not flat out saying don't. Walmart says don't. Winn-Dixie says don't. Publix just says, hey, if you're not a cop on active duty, we would refrain that you don't do this. They're not saying don't do it. They're just saying, please. So what's interesting with that is it's basically Publix. It sounds like Publix's lawyers and liability warriors are standing there going like, hey, we want to balance this issue. And Publix always has. I'm not defending Publix. I'm not trying to take sides on this. You know where my side is on this. We will always defend the Second Amendment. But Publix has private property rights. And so far, even their wording isn't negative in the sense of we don't want you doing it. It's just, hey, here's kind of what we request. And what's funny is I've been open carrying. I walked into my Publix recently. They didn't have an issue. They didn't go to me and tell me to leave.
It's kind of interesting, Lindsay, Roger, who co-hosts on my radio show, I go to Publix religiously. I shop at Publix for food, not Walmart. I'm not seeing, unless Lewis is coming up and hanging out with me, I haven't seen anybody with an open carry at all for the most part. Everybody opposes it. But I'm sorry, it's not the wild, wild west like they were predicting. But Lindsay, like on the schools that you have that you run, like the charter schools, you guys have that are concealed carry. You got a lot of security. But is it something that you guys do on your own, like a premise where you kind of warn people concealed carry is good, open carry, or do you guys don't even address this issue?
We don't address the issue on the outside of our buildings. Obviously it's not allowed. And Lewis, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's still not allowed in schools. So we are banned from having people conceal carry or open carry in schools. But we do have a security that have been vetted by the police, and so they can conceal carry. They're our guardians. But yeah, we don't make it a thing only because we don't want to make that paramount when you walk into the school doors. Right. That's kind of weird. We want it to be focused on education and not focused on the scaries.
Lewis, I know that there's a lot of things that we talk about on the radio show, and when I ask you it, I don't ask you to divulge sources or stuff, but you're not somebody who comes on the air just to make up things. When you, as Lindsay just said, it's not encouraged to carry guns and laws and things like that, but I got to assume discipline is still one of the, I get emails from teachers on my radio show. They say they still itch to complain of what's going on with discipline in the schools, not Lindsay's, but I'm talking about mostly the mainstream public schools out there. Do you get friends or feedback? And I haven't really asked the audience this question, but because I think sometimes them making a comment about one thing is fine, but they don't want to make comments about other. Do you hear from teachers that literally sit back and go, I would love to be concealed carry, but my school won't allow it? Do you hear that?
Very much so. I'm a former SRO. That was part of my law enforcement job, and I still have those contacts with teachers and staff across the state of Florida, especially now in my role with GOA. And I have academics, people in the academic profession, both as teachers and faculty, come up to me and they say, the Guardian program, it's a joke. It was pushed as, it's going to be campus carry.
Right.
When all it is, it's just a cheaper way of having SROs on campus because the school board still determines who can and can't go through the Guardian program. So all the teachers and staff that actually want to protect the kids under their care, they're not allowed to. And when I was an SRO, one of the biggest things that I came to a realization of, I would gladly give my life for the kids under my care, but I couldn't be everywhere at once. And when seconds count, I was still minutes away because of how big some of those campuses are.
Yeah.
And you have a Republican supermajority that constantly proclaims, oh, I'm pro-gun, I'm pro this, I'm pro that. And yet when we go up to them and say, okay, pass a real campus carry bill, they say no.
Todd, let me talk about incrementalism. And you mentioned high school. Let me mention like Lindsay School and others as an example. Lindsay, so Marjorie Stoneman happens. It was the biggest discussion for almost 2 to 3 months on the radio show. I mean, you could have talked about bombing Iran in 2018. Nobody was talking about it. It was all what happened here in Florida. Then there was this move and all of these political correctness with, remember Lewis, Dick's Sporting Goods and Walmart. And of course, Dick's Sporting Goods also mentioned that, well, even though it wasn't a shotgun, we're going to stop selling shotguns. I'm like, well, that didn't make sense. So Dick's Sporting Goods wanted to buy into the PC route of not selling guns. And then within about a year to 2 years, they admitted that they lost about $1 billion from their outdoor center. Not all of it on guns, but quite a bit of it on guns. And then we saw something in 2020 where some of these cities were wanting to enact their own local gun control. That didn't happen. And then they wanted to put this stupid, ridiculous gun control measure on the Florida ballot where they were going to lump in AR-15s with a semi-automatic 12 gauge that you go, turkey hunting with. That didn't pass and has been pretty quiet. But this is where I'm going with this. Lewis, I can't even get incrementalism done with Republicans in the state legislature. I understand about concealed carry, but I'm a concealed carry guy. And for example, I get it if they're not going to let you carry in airports or on government facilities. I can't even carry. If I want to go to one of Lindsay School's football games, Lindsay, by law, I can't even have a concealed carry there. And we know when you read the reports that there are a lot of the worst incidents where the shooting or fight takes place is at a local high school football game. I can't even carry that. And what Lewis just said a moment ago, Lindsay, that a matter of seconds before a cop can run 100 miles at your football game, things can be done that could damage people. And I can't even carry a gun to protect it, but I still got to wait on the police officer who's not going to make it in time.
Yeah, you can't protect yourself. You can't protect your family. You can't protect anybody around you. And these are incidents that happen after school hours. So they're like 5, 6, 7 p.m. They're not during the school day. School day, the school is locked up. The law changed actually right before we opened our Jacksonville campus in 2020, where we had to get fencing put up around the entire school. So the perimeter was sealed. That was a new law that was implemented. We did it. We abided by it. But there's nothing to protect you or your family. And that's what makes it really nerve-wracking. And I think that's why you're seeing events like this happen more and more across the country. And thank God they haven't happened recently in the state. But it's just a matter of time till some crazy wackadoodle comes.
I know. In the state legislature, Lewis, talk about how they always campaign on being pro-Second Amendment. And yet, I understand sometimes you want the whole enchilada. I get that. I'm even asking for smaller things. And I can't even get that with the state Republicans going right now I understand open carry, but again, I can't even get what Lindsay just talked about. I mean, if I want to protect myself at a football game or at other areas, I can't do it.
Look, Florida law is so stupid that you could walk into a restaurant, for example, and you could sit down and you could be at the table and you could carry and you could have a drink there. But let's say you go to Applebee's or TGI Fridays or Ruth Chris Steak. What do they usually do? If they don't have seating available, they put you at the bar. Oh, well, you can't carry there because now that's against the law. I'm sorry. If the guy who's going to commit murder is going to walk into the restaurant, he's not going to stop at the bar area and go, oh, well, this is a gun-free zone. I can't be. No, it makes no sense. Criminals are criminals because they break the law. Murder has been illegal since Hammurabi carved into a stone tablet thousands of years ago. Criminals still commit murder. All of these laws are worthless because all they do is they disarm the law-abiding public and make them soft targets in these locations. I mean, our high school football games. our restaurants, our businesses. We had to fight tooth and nail for incrementalism just so you could carry at your church or religious institution if they happen to have a freaking daycare center or Sunday school, because for a while that was even a gun-free zone. And that took multiple years to get passed because the Republicans were like, well, you know, we can't have guns on school. It's Sunday school service.
Yeah, by the way, you had Lindsay at bar. All right, so anyway, but I know we're not going to let Lindsay say that. But you want to know something, Lindsay? My father is a minister in the Melbourne, Florida area. I'll keep it that way. And lifelong member of gun groups, and taught me how to hunt, how to properly carry the gun, keep the gun open. The things that I didn't need regulations. People kind of do that these days. And Lindsay and Lindsay, I was asking Dad. I said, Dad, what do you? He goes, we want to catch people in the element of surprise. He goes, we've told our security guys not to open carry, but to concealed carry. And my dad was thinking this way. He goes, well, if they see an open carry, they want to do something, they leave and they don't get caught. He goes, if we catch them in the act with the concealed carry, and that was just Dad's belief. He's not against open carry. Don't get me wrong. He goes, I just want to catch the guys and put them away. I love that mentality. But Lindsay, to Lewis' point, many of the churches in Florida were begging, hey, why are we limited to this? Some of the areas where people can carry guns in like he mentioned, religious services. And by the way, Lindsay, when you go up and down Jacksonville Beach, Tampa, Fort Walton Beach, Lewis has got a point, the bars. But yet more of these companies, Lindsay, like in Cocoa Beach, they sell more food than they do booze, but it's still classified as a bar, and I still can't carry my gun.
It makes no sense to me at all. My favorite places to sit at a restaurant are the bar. I think I love meeting new people. I love socializing. So it's great.
Quicker.
Absolutely. Yeah. You get your food, drinks right on time, super fast. So I love it. So I don't understand. It's a deterrent when you have law-abiding citizens. That's a deterrent. What I love about having our Guardian program is we have people that know the kids. They know the campus like the back of their hand. It's a real problem because it took us forever to even get one of our guys to go through the program at the very beginning. It took months and months and months just for us to get a response back. So it was ridiculous. And I mean, we have teachers, just like Lewis said, who want to take it, and we get ghosted time after time after time. So there just needs to be less red tape, more law-abiding citizens with guns in their hands to be a deterrent to the actual bad guys who actually want to hurt people.
Lewis, when the legislature meets, election season, it's March through May, special session, and then off season, it's January through March. You guys always lobby. All the time. You're in Tallahassee, you lobby. Do you go in and go, okay, guys, we're going to get it's going to be like, yeah, we're going to take care of you. And you know darn well they're not going to do anything to move forward any more pro-gun legislation. Is that the typical MO right now?
The typical MO is literally they campaign their pro-gun, then we approach them and say, hey, here's some pre-written bills that we would like introduced. And these bills aren't, crazy all over the top. It's simple things like repealing the bump stock ban, repealing the under 21 purchase ban, repealing gun-free zones, things of that sort. And they literally just say, no, leadership will be against it. They'll kill my other bills. I could only do this. I could only do that. And our response always to them is, who do you serve? Do you serve the party leadership, or do you serve the constituency that voted you into office on those campaign promises and issues that you campaigned on? And basically what you're having lawmakers putting party before principle, and they'd rather listen and do what the Senate president or the House Speaker tells them to do than what the voters tell them to do. I mean, this is now 2 years in a row where a Republican supermajority can't even pass a state budget without going into a special session.
Lewis, let me ask you.
It's ridiculous.
We're going to address the governor's race. We got a few minutes here. But talk to me and kind of give us, this is kind of a little inside a little deep in the weeds, but the audience, just follow me for a second. Forget about I guess it would be in the Democratic primaries, who's the more liberal, and the Republicans, who's more conservative. But when it comes to issues in a Republican primary here in Florida, whether it's a city race, county commission, state house, or state senate, is the gun issue like the abortion issue used to be, where okay, I'm against partial birth abortion, and then you find somebody's more conservative. I believe life begins at conception, and that person would normally win than the person who was probably a little bit more moderate, but they were for certain restrictions. How is the gun issue in many of these primaries that you've polled or that you've seen among Republicans in Florida? Does it become like that old abortion issue where it's like, hey, man, you could talk about raising taxes, you could talk about certain education, but when it comes to guns, that is my issue in this race. Is that still a top tier issue among Republican primary voters? Again, local or state races, and I mean not so much statewide, but state house races. I remember it used to be years ago. Is it still that big of an issue?
For a lot of voters, that is the canary in the coal mine. That is how they judge their candidates on, because if they treat the Second Amendment a certain way, they know they're going to treat their other constitutional rights a certain way. But the big issue is you have, since this is a supermajority state, you have a political machine that literally weeds out good candidates that would actually push the issue and pass good legislation, to where the voters basically, on a quarter of these races, they're unopposed. There is no primary. Just to give you an idea, right now, the current House Speaker, Danny Perez, he's term limited. He's been a thorn in our side on a number of issues. His replacement is running unopposed. And that's the issue. The entire political apparatus of the Republican establishment in Florida has created such a machine to where good candidates that we actually want in office, they're unable to run because either they can't qualify, they can't get the funding, or the machine has made it to where there is no support for that.
Oh, no, wait, back up. These people from South Florida, wouldn't you want, I mean, maybe why? I mean, wouldn't it be better if the Republicans ran somebody from a more rural area part of the state that is more, hey, man, we have no problem of showcasing, we love guns, but it's always the South Florida people that seem to be shied away from more conservative issues.
Except it's not the South Florida people alone. I mean, you got a lot of good old Florida, and for your listeners that don't know, Florida cracker doesn't mean white folk. Florida cracker means that they could trace their lineage here before the Civil War because they were cracking bullwhips to herd cattle. But you got good old Southern Florida crackers like the current Senate President, Ben Albritton. You got Chuck Brannon in the House. You know, they're against repealing gun control. They were against open carry. They were against repealing the Parkland gun control legislation.
Yeah.
So it's not just South Floridians. It is an entire Republican system within the state of Florida that treats gun rights simply as a carrot on a stick. And then when you actually vote for them, they don't give you the carrot. They just hit you with the stick. I've been to REC meetings in the most rural parts of the state, and I've literally had Republicans tell me in my face, we can't have permitless carry in Florida. God forbid my wife sees a black guy carrying a gun at the Piggly Wiggly.
Oh, and by the way, the biggest group of people that are enjoying their Second Amendments are single moms and those in the black community. Hey, welcome aboard here, for crying out loud. Oh,
yeah, women and minorities are the largest growing segment of gun owners in the country.
A black guy walking with a gun. No, I don't worry about that, you know. So, hey, by the way, real quick, where is law enforcement on this? Are they mixed?
The law enforcement is very mixed. You have a couple of good law enforcement officials in Florida, like Brevard County Sheriff Wayne Ivey.
Yeah, we know Wayne.
Who is vehemently pro-gun. But then you have others like Bob Gualtieri of Pinellas County, who flat out said that he would arrest anyone in his county that was openly carrying or even had an accidental exposure, and he would hold them at gunpoint. You know, it's the Florida Sheriff's Association has historically been anti-gun. They fought every pro-gun bill and piece of legislation that has been advanced. You have city PDs across the state that have been against it. There's a long, storied history of law enforcement being against gun rights, yet you'll have those sheriffs campaign, oh, I'm pro-gun. I mean, look, Polk County Sheriff Grady Judge, he constantly says he's pro-gun. He is the largest enforcer of red flag orders in the state of Florida. This guy has enforced over 10,000 RFOs against gun owners, while liberal Miami-Dade and Broward County combined don't even come close to his numbers.
That's going to be another issue. We need to talk about the gubernatorial race next time. And I think the next big debate with guns it's in that ballpark, isn't about the guns itself. I think what you just said is going to be the red flag laws, but we'll talk about it coming up. Luis Valdes, Gun Owners of America here in Florida, State Director. Luis, again, good stuff. Thanks for coming on today.
Always a pleasure, brother.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Luis Valdes here on the Florida Daily Show. I will tell you something, Lindsay, that if people feel protected, like at your old school, they feel protected. They feel that, hey, listen, I like what I see with security. If I don't see anybody or I don't want to know anybody's got a concealed carry, open carry, as long as they feel protected, that's what they care about. And that can be another interesting debate. But I think what I look at is that whether you agree with the guard, I don't think the Guardian program's been fully implemented, but if you've got some teachers, and I know it's not just South Florida, but other parts of the state that feel, hey, listen, I want a concealed carry. I mean, what you see in the movies is what I experienced in certain schools out there. I've got no problem with that. Now, is that the attitude of every school? Maybe, but you've got a lot of schools like yours as well that are doing a good job. Is the argument that do you think if we had enough law enforcement officers, SROs, school resource officers, that maybe the debate about concealed carry in the schools would be kind of pushed to the side?
I mean, maybe, but to Lewis's point from earlier, I mean, you can only one person. Some campuses, like our one campus is almost 17 acres. So if you only have one SRO, what happens if an incident happens at the very opposite side of the property? So, I mean, I think as many, responsible citizens as possible can be, armed. That is, to me, just a win for the school.
I think you're right. It also, if I may say, I mean, there's a cost with this as well. You got to pay each school resource officer. And of course, then the argument goes, well, how important are the kids? Well, I get that. Sounds like my insurance guy. It's how much I can afford to protect family and everything else out there.
Yep.
And I think by allowing some, and now follow me for a second with a couple of minutes here. I think by allowing teachers, maybe pay them a couple extra bucks, I think it would be cheaper than hiring a school resuresource officer.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm saying you have some, but I think I think some people feel a little bit more protective of having, like, I have a gun every day on me. I'm not here to look like John Wayne. I just want to protect myself. And I think if more people could do that, but I still think the biggest debate, like Luis just said, is you got some, I understand they want to open carry, and I don't know if the state's ready for that. That's not saying no. I like the concealed carry, but I can't even carry in certain areas of the state with a concealed carry. And yet we want to go for full-blown open carry. I don't know. How do we go from here to over here? Doesn't make sense.
Impossible. It's impossible. It's not going to happen.
I think you're right. I mean, it's a state law, but I think the next big debate is going to be, where do businesses come down on this?
Yep, absolutely.
Businesses it's going to be like, hey, we got property rights, people.
Yep, and we're going to have a new governor come January, so we'll just see what happens. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
It'll be the Wild Wild West in Florida.
The Wild Wild West, little Kumo D. I like that, man. Bar and Wild Wild West today. I like it. So anyway, all right. We got more coming out this week. Good edition today. Don't forget to go to our YouTube page. We don't charge anything. Just like it, subscribe to it, and keep reading and watching the Florida Daily Show right here at floridadaily.com.